All right, the Texans have concluded preparation for the Los Angeles Chargers. Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you here on SNL. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the individual channels as well. We were on the scene, and the Texans have concluded prep. They practiced indoors today. By the way, pretty cold indoors. Still no Shaq Mason. He's not going to go, but other than that, seems like all hands on deck that you would expect. And a healthy front seven, which I want to get to in a sec. But the healthiest that the front seven has been all season long, which I think is going to really, really excite D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah, the only injury to note that you need to pay attention to, as maybe they won't go and they're a key player. Landry mentioned Shaq Mason's out, but we talked about Quentin Johnston and him not practicing yesterday for the Chargers. He was back at practice, limited participant. Two different things now for him, thigh/illness. He's questionable. If he can't go, then that passing attack for the Chargers takes a little bit of a dip. But I would expect if he can practice the last practice of the week, he's going to be able to go for the game. So that's the one you're really watching for. Outside of that, both these squads walking into this one pretty healthy.
And I would say that's a big injury if he's not ready to go. That's their vertical threat. I mean, that's their extreme vertical threat. It's very boom or bust with him, but that would be a big injury we would anticipate because it's the playoffs. He's going to try to give it a go. I think the biggest theme of this week and the biggest source of optimism for the Texans, and I understand any pessimism, is the front seven. You have all of your D linemen there, and you have all of the linebackers that D'Amico Ryans. I'm sure he was excited when they brought in Azeez Al-Shaair, wanted to see what it looked like with Christian Harris. He's not really going to get a look at that until the playoffs, and that's exciting, but I also wonder if there's some sort of growing pains that come with being on the field at the same time. I think that's something to really keep an eye on. The former linebacker has his full array of linebackers and D linemen on Saturday.
I got to imagine he's pretty excited about it. I mean, they threw Christian Harris right out there, and he looked like he was good to go from the moment they put him out there once he was healthy and they were able to play him. It didn't look great against Baltimore, but it seems like he was maybe hobbled a little bit with the ankle injury they gave him last week off to get him ready for this one. But, yeah, Azeez Al-Shaair, Christian Harris, they've been on the field for a quarter of a training camp practice together. Like Al-Shaair was suspended when Harris came back. They've practiced together a little bit, but let's see what the actual game brings for that. Plus Henry To'o mixed in there. And the Chargers put some big fronts out there, extra tight end, a fullback. That's a positive for D'Amico Ryans. He can put those three linebackers out there and trust those guys and mix and match however he needs to. I'll be intrigued to see what the two linebacker setup is. Like, when they do put an extra DB on the field, is it Azeez and Christian? Is it Christian and Henry? Is it Azeez and Henry? Like, which matchups do they do when it's two linebackers more than anything else? That'll be intriguing. And then the middle of that defensive line is big. Like, obviously, we know Will Anderson and Danielle Hunt are going to do what they do at the edge. But if you get any push, remember the times when Mario Edwards and Foley Fatukasi were pushing the pocket earlier this year? If you get any push up the middle, you're in really good shape with the front seven that can rush the passer from not only the edge but up the middle, and then they'll be key in stopping J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, that rushing attack as well.
Yeah, the Foley Fatukasi thing's interesting. He's been banged up all year. Probably maybe a little bit more important than we give him credit for. I think he's one of those guys that plays the way that D'Amico likes to play. It might not really light up the stat sheet, but with the changes they made on the interior defensive line, I think this is a guy that he really likes the way that he plays. Evan on the super chat says he's betting on the Texans money line. So there you go. I don't think it's the worst bet. I think you can make worse bets. I also don't think Chargers -3 is a bet. I actually made both. I made the Texans money line and the Chargers -3. So if the Chargers win, then it's no bet. It doesn't count. If the Texans win, there's a little bit of a sprinkle. So I kind of hedged that. Now, Chargers win by 2 or 1, then not the greatest of bets. It's the double whammy, but that's what I decided to do.
It's not a bad strategy. It's not, especially if you can, for the most likely outcomes, because like if the Chargers win this thing, they're probably winning it by a touchdown or more, 4 or more. And then the Texans, all you need is a Texans victory. So it's not a bad strategy.
So let's look a little bit more at what's going on in the trenches. And I have 4 matchups Four matchups that I think are going to potentially decide this game. And let's start with the Texans tackles versus the Chargers ends. And you have Laramie Tunsil, good individual player, doesn't really, no real intangibles that kind of bleed into the rest of the offensive line. He's individually, quote, having a good season, but you don't really see it throughout the offensive line. A lot of penalties. And then you have Blake Fisher making his first career playoff start. Probably going to be some growing pains, going to be some up and down, but I'm glad that he's getting this start. And they're going to be going against veterans in Bosa and Khalil Mack, among other guys. How do you feel about the Texans tackles versus the Chargers ends?
I feel okay about this matchup. I don't feel great. This is not like some just, oh my God, like this pass rush is unstoppable. Like it doesn't matter how good your tackles are. Like it's a much more difficult situation for the Chargers ends to stop the Chargers tackles stop the Texans ends. Like, but don't get me wrong, they throw a lot of different guys out there. That's the scary part. It is constant. So it's not just like you can exhale when Bosa and Mack are off the field, because the actual guys with more sacks than both those guys are Bud Dupree and Tuipulotu from USC. Their second year in the league. Like those guys have more sacks than Bosa and Mack. So they just continue to throw guys at you from that end standpoint. The tackles for the Texans have had moments this year where they've played okay. Each tackle spot has played okay. Fisher's nastiness finally feels like it's come around. That's something D'Amico Ryans mentioned this week. That'll be key for this matchup, like kind of ready to. And I tell you what, Fisher's walking around with some confidence this week. Like it just haven't talked to him a couple weeks ago when he first got in the starting lineup, and then talking to him now, it feels like he's far more comfortable in just a short amount of time than when he first got the nod there at right tackle. So I'm not super worried about this, though. The multitude of people that they can throw at the tackles is tough to deal with, but this isn't like keep me up at night situation here with this offensive line going against the edge rushers for the Chargers.
No, and I think the Texans can rotate in guys too. So I think if you look at Barnett and you look at some of them, I think they're both rotating in guys. It is interesting though, because these guys are young. Will Anderson's young as well, but Daniil Hunter's a little bit of a veteran. So that'll be interesting. I do wonder if there's like a lapse from Laramie Tunsil going against these vets. Is he going to hold his own? But I would say like on this, I would lean slightly Chargers on this, because their ends are vets and they have a lot of bodies, and and Blake Fisher's starting his first playoff game. But I don't think it's like something that's just going to completely wreck stuff.
Look, they're going to get home. Like they're going to get to CJ Stroud a time or two. You just got to be able to avoid it wrecking a drive, and you got to be able to overcome it when it does happen.
Swarming back to the super chat before we get into the second matchup. David White says the public demands more SNL food review content. I got you. It's basically just me rolling up on Cody and putting him on the spot. So yeah, I don't mind doing that. Don't threaten me with a good time. Anytime I can annoy Cody, I'm there. Thoughts?
I mean, I'm far more okay with the food reviews than when I'm like trying to pay attention at practice and you're treating me like I'm somebody famous and you're TMZ.
Let's go H-Town on the soup. Some Chargers fans say the Chargers O-line is ass, and they struggle to score in the second half just like us. Yeah, their offense has had some bad moments. Like their offense, this is not a world-beating offense by any stretch of the imagination. So if there's any – if the Chargers are going to win this game, it's going to be because they're physically dominant and they make situational plays. It's not quite Nico Collins and everyone else, but it's kind of the same thing. The Chargers offense is not good. That's probably their biggest complaint about their team, like the Texans. So that is not surprising. Daniel A., do we see the Texans in more three linebacker looks? I would say yes in this game for sure. I don't know if that's going to be the case moving forward, but I would say in this game, there's no doubt we see more traditional 4-3 defense, I would think.
Especially with how the Chargers put tight ends on the field sometimes and put extra backs on the field. You're going to see some more three linebacker stuff in this one. I went and pulled the stats just real quick. Chargers 19th in the league in second half scoring. Texans 29th in the league. So the difference is about 2 points or so. So they're a little bit better than the Texans, but still 19th is not very good when you're thinking about second half scoring. But yeah, you will see some more 3 linebacker stuff just because of the way the Chargers play.
Someone says that playoff hype video gives me hope. Please, Texans, do not let us down. I haven't even watched the playoff hype video. Was it good?
It was pretty good. It's pretty good. It builds up to basically you're with us or against us, and it gets to the Will Anderson clip, and it's dang Houston, F them. It's very good.
Okay, so the us against the world mentality, that's what we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Evan says final score and predictions. Lay it out, man.
Final score will be on Houston football Saturday morning.
Oh, wow. Look at that tease.
Houston football, HOUfootball.com. That's a free article every week, the final score and final thoughts.
I'm leaning towards the Chargers right now. I just don't trust this Texans offense. Would I be shocked if the Texans won? No. I think we'll know early. I think if they win, it's going to be because of the defense. I do expect big games from Anderson and Hunter. I'm leaning Chargers more because I trust, as bad as their offense is, I trust them not to screw stuff up and have monumental mistakes more than I do the Texans. It really comes down to I trust Greg Roman in this situation more than I do Bobby Slowick and his offensive line. So I'm kind of leaning Chargers right now. I'll be honest with you.
I'm leaning the other way, but we'll see how Saturday morning feels.
There you go. He's a homer though, but so yeah, there's that.
I mean, I'm not a homer. That's wrong.
Chargers tackles versus Texans ends. So we have Joe Alt, the rookie phenom, and Rashawn Slater, the local, really awesome young tackle as well, going against Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, Derek Barnett and company.
Danico Autry.
And Danico Autry, although he's going to be on the inside, outside. I got a feeling they're going to be real creative. D'Amico kind of said, I feel like D'Amico's going to have some different looks in this game too. I might be able to talk myself into the Texans because I do think he's intrigued about the possibilities and the things that he's going to be able to show, specifically with Danico Autry.
So this is actually a pretty interesting element of what D'Amico can do. Whenever we've talked to him about, hey, you played a team for the second time, or oh, this team made this change a while back. Like, he always talks about how, hey, I really like to focus in on the last 4 to 6 games that those teams have played, because that's really kind of who you are, unless there's some sort of major change. But when I do look at teams, I want to focus in on that. If you look at the Texans over the last 4 games or so, they're going to have some different opportunities to show some different things, especially from a defensive standpoint on Saturday. Christian Harris, Azeez Al-Shire, both healthy, both playing together. Foley Fatukasi back on the field. And I think the commentary usually from D'Amico Ryans is like, teams don't really show you anything super new around this time. But he's got a chance because he has people available that haven't been available for the past month or so to show some different things defensively. So I'm very intrigued by what D'Amico can scheme up, because like a lot of this is on his shoulders. He's got to slow down that Chargers offense and make sure they're not putting up a whole bunch of points, because his team's not going to put up a whole bunch of points.
Yeah, that's really the whole thing with this thing. Is these offenses both stink, these defenses are okay. I would say that the Stroud versus Herbert matchup we'll get to in a sec as well. Evan on the soup says, Stoots, cue up the damn it Landry for the take.
Damn it, Bobby.
Landry. What did I say? What, picking the Chargers?
I guess probably because you're picking the Chargers.
Yeah. I just don't have a lot of confidence in this offense. I'm very beat down by this offense. And I'm not seeing the glow from CJ Stroud that I want to see this time of the year. I'm just not seeing the glow. I'm seeing a guy who looks a little bit tired. Harbaugh versus D'Amico. This one's interesting. I don't think D'Amico's done anything to make us question his in game. Specifically with the side of the ball that he controls. There's been like nitpick, could he have done this, should he have done that type of things. But there hasn't been like some sort of pattern of in-game incompetence or anything like that. So it's really just comes down to the experience. And Jim Harbaugh, when he's been in the playoffs, has never lost his opening playoff game. He's also way more battle tested, and he's also a really, really good in-game coach. So the advantage is Jim Harbaugh, but it's nothing to do with other than just the fact that he's been doing it for a longer time and he's had more success in big games.
The only thing I would say from like a game planning specific thing, because I mean this isn't so much like it's in like Harbaugh calls the offense, like Greg Roman calls it, but like challenges, Harbaugh hadn't won a challenge this year. D'Amico's 2-4 in 6 challenges over 2 seasons. So like neither are great at throwing the little red challenge flag and making it work out for them, but they can't do this stop, start, accelerate, break, end of half, 2-minute warning thing that we've seen them do a handful of times over the course of the season. Like there were times early in the year where they got the ball back. They had, 2 timeouts in 90 seconds. Like we knew pedal to the metal, they're going to try to do it. But we've seen in the back half of the season, sometimes they're, okay, 1 first down, then they're lollygagging to the line. Then they try to put their foot on the gas, and we've seen them make some mistakes and cost themselves some points and some opportunities. So that's got to be really tightened up from a Texans standpoint. I don't want any of those into first half, like what the hell were they doing moments to pop up from the Miko Ryans.
Yeah. I mean, Harbaugh, every year he's been in the playoffs, and this is the 4th he's gone to the conference championship. So we'll see what it looks like. I do think there's going to be more moments like that because I think these teams are pretty close. I think they're pretty close, and they're neither one really, unless there's just like a complete bedwetting experience. I don't think either one of them are going to blow the other one out. So we might get like our first big game moment of D'Amico having to make the right decision. And he has guys around him to help him and stuff like that. I think from the defensive game plan standpoint, you feel good about it. So we'll see. He's going to go toe-to-toe with Jim Harbaugh. If the Texans continue, he's going to go toe-to-toe with guys that are even more battle-tested, specifically in the NFL. So that's really nothing D'Amico can control. It's just going to be interesting to see how the whole thing goes. But I would give the slight edge to Harbaugh in this, although D'Amico, hell of a job so far.
Well, and for a team that lives on the margins like the Texans, how do they handle and bounce back from any sort of mistake that they make? And then the flip side would be from a Chargers team that really doesn't give the ball away. Like if they gave the ball away early, I got a hunch that Harbaugh can get them dialed back in, focused back in. Like we don't want to see snowball effect when the Texans make a mistake. And that's a lot of that's on D'Amico as well.
CJ Stroud and Justin Herbert, you can actually make a case that CJ Stroud's probably a little bit more battle tested. You make a case. I think in college he was playing at the highest of high levels. He's played in 2 playoff games. Justin Herbert's only played in 1 playoff game. He's won a playoff game. Justin Herbert's never won a playoff game. So you can actually make a case that at the quarterback position, although Justin Herbert's been around a little bit longer, you can make a case that CJ Stroud is actually more battle tested. Now, with that said, Herbert's had the better season like this year. So there's kind of something to balance out when it comes to the quarterback matchup.
Yeah, the thing that really jumps off the page between these two is decision making. Herbert doesn't hurt you. Herbert lets you live to fight another day and trust your defense. CJ's made some really boneheaded mistakes here in the back half of the season, running out of bounds for sacks when he could have thrown the ball away. 2 really bad interceptions against Kansas City. Really bad interceptions against the Tennessee Titans. Bad interceptions against the Lions. Like he's had most of his big, like, what the hell are you doing moments since the middle of the season on. Like he was taking care of the ball much better earlier in the season, hiccups here or there, but since the Lions game, he's been giving the ball away a lot. And then he's also been not trusting what's open, trying to do too much, throwing it deep when he had open guys short. Like Herbert doesn't do that. Herbert doesn't make a lot of those mistakes. Like they're comfortable. Okay, we need 7. That guy's there for 5. We didn't get it. Okay, kick it. Let's go. There's a lot of times CJ feels like, he's run when he's had open guys. Like the decision making is the big difference between these two. I know statistically Herbert has had the better year and this and that, but the decision making, CJ's made some curious decisions here in the back half of the season. He's got to be much better at that against the Chargers. They're going to win.
I think the most surprising thing for me with this offense, and I think this kind of helps CJ and it kind of goes to what you're saying, is it does kind of feel like CJ, whenever it's either they're going to complete the pass for 10 yards or it's going to be an incompletion. There's never like they took 3 yards or they took 4 yard like type of element. And that can have as much to do with the scheme or anything like that. Like the checkdowns, it can even have to do with the personnel. But the thing that has surprised me the most when it comes to this squad and what we expected from them is I know that he has 36 catches in 14 games. I expected Joe Mixon to be a legitimate threat out of the backfield as a receiver more than he has been at this point. And that was when they had the quote three-headed monster at wide receiver. Ended up not really being monster, but when they had three serviceable wide receivers, even then, and even in camp, we kind of saw signs they were throwing wheel routes to him. They were throwing slants.
He had that over-the-shoulder catch the day the Rams were in town.
Yeah, by the fans. Yeah, over on the fan side. There have been times where he's run slants and he's dropped the ball. There's been a couple of drops, but with how depleted the wide receiver group is and how good of a receiving threat I actually think Joe Mixon is, it's been kind of one of the more surprising, disappointing elements of this offense is that Bobby. Joe Mixon has not been as much of a threat out of the backfield catching the rock.
And it's something he does really well too. So that's the unfortunate element. It's not like you're trying to ask some guy to go out there and do stuff that he has never done before. Like he's got that element in his bag of tricks. So it is unfortunate. You could have a nice little appearance by that here in the playoffs, and that would go a long way as a big positive. But he's had some really nice catch the ball and make an impact moments. They just haven't been as constant as we probably would have liked from Joe Mixon.
Yeah, not at all. On the soup, Herman says, do you think Pierce will show up Saturday? He'll be there. I mean, I don't think he'll be on the field much. They don't use him. They don't use him unless it's mop-up duty or the end of a game. I'm not saying that's wrong, but they won't.
If he could make an impact from a special team standpoint, that'd go a long way.
Evan says, even if you don't believe, always take us, bro. I can't do that. He also says, Evan, we appreciate you, my friend. Our secondary will put number 15 in jail. I think that's a possibility. Yeah, I think they set out to do that. They could do that.
If Johnston's hobbled, if Johnston's not 100%, and it's easier to defend him than it looked last week when he had a good game against the Raiders, and they can put a little bit more attention on McConkey, that'd be huge. That'd be huge for the Texans on this one. Yeah,
it'd be massive. And we'll see how it goes. Again, the predictions coming through. I'm just going to ask you this question though: Is the front seven the key? Do you think that the front seven is the key for the Texans, the D line and the linebackers? Is that the key to success for this game?
Yes, they could take this thing over. They can make the secondary's job easier. Can make the secondary or put them in a position to make a big play. The front seven, especially up the middle, the linebackers and the defensive tackles, slowing down the run, extra pressure off, from what the edges bring as well. You can take over this game with that front seven that the Texans have.
We got a hell of a weekend of football ahead of us. It's actually fantastic because the Texans are off tomorrow. Tonight, we got Penn State, Notre Dame. Got the off day tomorrow. We'll still be live, though. Then we got Texas, Ohio State. Then we got the NFL playoffs on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So I kind of want to localize Wild Card Weekend. Just the first local thought that comes to your mind when it comes to these matchups. And we'll start with Denver at Buffalo. First local thought that comes to your mind when it comes to this matchup.
How did they ever do what they did to Josh Allen earlier this year? It's one of the most inexplicable performances of the season, what the Texans were able to do to Josh Allen here in Houston. I know it was a depleted Bills team, but even if some other performances where he didn't have everybody, Allen was still amazing. He was awful in Houston. It's like that defense possesses that ability on any given day to turn MVP candidate into Scrabini for a day.
for me, it's a team joining the Texans in the tier for the moment. And I don't know, I didn't anticipate this, but it's kind of happened. I was never like a Sean Payton guy, especially given how much the draft equity would cost. But I mean, the job that they've done, what they've done with Bo Nix, the fact that they have Marvin Mims kind of elevating his play, the second-year guy out of Oklahoma, I was a big fan of. Cortland Sutton, the way that their defense is playing. I think it's going to be interesting. I still think Buffalo is someone that no one wants to play at Buffalo, but there does seem to be a lot of momentum with the Denver Broncos. And regardless of how you feel about them and how much better you feel about the Texans core and future, the Denver Broncos have done a nice job of kind of joining the Texans tier this year. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Zay Flowers, by the way, not going to go, which is pretty big deal for them. They do have multiple tight end threats. They do still have Bateman. But the Baltimore Ravens will be without their most explosive wide receiver. He got injured in their game last week. Baltimore, I think, about a 10-point favorite. I just don't see them getting threatened here. And this, like, if we're talking about where the Texans are compared, this just kind of seems like the same old, same old. This is like rinse, repeat. Baltimore's in the same spot, and Pittsburgh's kind of in the same spot where they've been for a long time.
We're not going to do the whole, well, this one's going to be closer because it's a division game. We're not doing that, right? Because the Ravens are going to stomp them. And if there just been one game go different for Pittsburgh over the course of the season, we'd be getting ready for Texans Steelers instead of Texans Chargers. But nope, Pittsburgh losers are their last 4 down the stretch. Absolutely pathetic finish. Mike Tomlin hasn't.
It was a finish you knew was coming. Like, we pointed to those 4 games when they were doing good.
Sure.
Yeah. It was what you knew that was coming.
Sure. I mean, they looked like they had nothing, though, against the Chiefs. Like, nothing. And then the Bengals game, Tomlin, he's an idiot. He hasn't done anything in the playoffs in years. He
went forward on in the second quarter at the 38. Washington and Tampa Bay. I think Jaden Daniels has had a more impressive rookie season than CJ Stroud when you factor in the rushing. The Cliff Kingsbury thing's interesting. The job that he's done, the fact that Texans talked to him. And the Tampa Bay game, every time I see Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield, it just reminds me of that improbable dub that the Texans had last year when they lost Fairbairn. They had Dare Gumbawale kicking off and extra points and stuff like that. CJ and Tank just magically doing things. And the offense just seemed to be clicking. That offense from last year and what we saw this year, even with Tank Dell, that's just kind of what I'm reminded by as we localize these wild card games.
What I think about with this Buccaneers team and this whole matchup, there's 2 things with the Bucs. The whole matchup is the 2 guys that call the offenses for these teams are 2 very different guys. Kingsbury's had to sort of reinvent himself after it's a little bit of success, then falling down in college, then success in the NFL, falling down in the NFL. And of course, the Texans interviewed him before he ended up in Washington. And then Tampa, they went and plucked a guy out of college, let him run their offense, and now that guy's a head coach candidate for teams and Liam Cohen.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think that's really 2 things. And then I'd flip it around and say a year ago, the Buccaneers were getting talked about in the same vein in the playoffs as the Texans were this week. Like, Philly came to Tampa last year, first round of the playoffs, about 3.5 point favorites. And the Buccaneers smoked them 32-9 and moved on. Now, it wasn't great the next week, but it's very similar. It's a very similar conversation from a year ago with what Tampa dealt with in their opener versus what the Texans are dealing with in their opener.
Philly, though, was kind of a dead team walking now.
Yeah, they were banged up, and there were some issues, and they were thinking about making a change, and it wasn't great, but still had to go out there and beat a team that a lot of people thought was a favorite.
Green Bay at Philly. This one, it's a little bit more difficult to localize. I am intrigued by Philly, the local kid, Jalen Hurts. There seems to be like some dismissing. I'm actually high on Philly going into the playoffs for some reason. I can't quite explain it. It just seems like people are kind of sleeping on Philadelphia and just how good they are.
I mean, they'd be my pick of the NFC right now.
Yeah, they're good. Jalen Hurts and then LaFleur, obviously, same type of pipeline. Bryce Young's kind of in similar-ish territory to CJ Stroud, although their receivers, even when healthy, they don't have like a Nico Collins, but there's going to be no Christian Watson.
Bryce Young, you mean Jordan Love?
Jordan Love. Yeah. What did I say?
Bryce Young.
Oh, well, yeah. So, I mean, he's not in a good situation either, but yeah, I'm in Jordan Love. Is that worthy?
Yeah.
Race car.
All right. Minnesota at LA Rams. Just
Well, one more thing about Philly. I mean, investing in a good running back, the Texans are here because Joe Mixon was excellent. The Eagles are a favorite in the NFC because Saquon Barkley is incredible. Oh, by the way, that's a really good offensive line, but Barkley's been awesome, obviously.
Yeah. And it also shows when you have a good offensive line, you can
plug and play, great players.
Minnesota at LA against the Rams. Obviously, the Minnesota beatdown that the Texans suffered comes to mind. The Rams are just when you hear excuses about injuries with the Texans, I just kind of roll my eyes because the Rams are one of those teams, and obviously they have Sean McVay, but they're one of those teams where whether it's Baker Mayfield off the couch, whether it's Cooper Kupp to Puka Nacua, whether it's Whittington, whether it's Fat Anderson a few years ago, whether it's Todd Gurley before that, whether it's whoever the hell they put at running back, whoever the hell they put at receiver, whoever the hell's on their offensive line, it just seems like it might not be as good as it is, but it's always the type of functioning offense that you want. And I think the Rams are the epitome of just being able to run a system, being able to run it flawlessly, being able to run it smoothly, and it not being based on personnel. It's a lot like D'Amico's defense, but we're trying to get there on offense. That's how I look at the Rams.
It feels like McVay's always got something. It's very rare for the Rams to go out there. Again, it's happened before, but it's very rare for them to go out there and lay an egg on offense. So it feels like he's always got something. Minnesota in this one, I mean, the Texans talked to Kevin O'Connell. I know he was really impressive in the conversation. He obviously had better opportunities when he ended up in Minnesota, and he's a very good coach. And they've got a couple of former Texans out there that have basically transformed their defense, along with another addition, Andrew Van Ginkel. But they got Grenard and Cashman. Both those guys have been excellent for the Vikings, about as good as the Vikings could have hoped in a season. And they've been really good when Cashman's played. He's missed a game here or there. Grenard had a really nice season. So that's what I think about when I think about this Vikings team is they got a couple of former Texans leading the charge over there on defense.
Doing their thing. Wildcard weekend's going to be fun. It's going to be a really, really fun week for sure. And we've enjoyed covering it. Hopefully we're covering a game next week. If not, we're still going to be doing something off season, looking closer at the at what goes on in the NFL playoffs and all that.
It's going to be great, man. It's I don't want the off season to be here, but we're going to crush it when it gets here.
We will absolutely crush it. By the way, we have someone in the chat that claims to be world famous. I guess Tony Reyes is a internet sensation on the trumpet since 1976 for the Chargers. No idea what that is.
Chargers trumpet man?
Yeah, no idea what that is. But shout out to the trumpet guy, I guess.
Here's what I would say, Tony. The fact that I can't immediately Google your name and see like you as like Chargers trumpet man,
yeah,
makes me think that it's not as world famous as I am led to believe.
These fans are getting out of control, man. Like, I watched the Chiefsaholic documentary. You got what's his name? Ultimate Fan, like handing out business cards and stuff. Like it's getting fanhood is not what I remember. It's not what I remember where you just go lose your voice, get drunk and all that. It's very ego feeding now. Have you noticed?
Yeah. Didn't you go on his podcast?
I did. He had like an assistant and stuff. It was very strange. Very strange. Anyway,
But you had fun though.
it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. Anyways,
I want to know more about Tony and his trumpet. Is he coming to the game? Like, is he a guy that like travels and like people should know? Do they put him on the big screen like they do the firemen?
he says YouTube Chargers trumpet man. People know me.
Chargers trumpet man. Okay, let's see what I can find here.
Chargers trumpet man.
Well, there's a lot of when I type, I don't see it. Like again,
I see one video.
It should be in Google Images immediately.
Nothing comes up on that. There's one video of Chargers trumpet man.
Tony.
Let me see this. I'll pull this up. This is the only one that comes up.
I'm looking at Tony in the picture here.
Here we go. This is Chargers trumpet man right here.
You gonna pull the video up for the folks? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of just seems like a guy getting. It kind of just seems like a guy getting drunk, just annoying some folks.
Oh, he's self-proclaimed. Okay.
Derek says, "I know him. Put some respect on his name." Okay, Tony the Trumpet Man. Take your word for it.
Is he? I mean, is he coming to Houston? Like, are we gonna see him in the crowd?
That didn't look too cool to me, to be honest. That actually looked like kind of weaselly, if you want to know the truth.
This is,
I like to give other fans a chance, and I like to give other teams a chance. That looked pretty weaselly, Tony.
How many Chargers fans do you think will be there on Saturday?
3.
Not known for traveling.
No, if you said Steelers, I would say probably about
10,000,
45,000, 40,000. If you said Chiefs, I would say probably about 32,000. If you said Ravens, I would probably say about 15 to 20,000. If you said Broncos, I would say probably about 20. They roll pretty good. 20,000. Chargers 3.
Three Chargers fans. Well,
I don't think the Chargers or Rams have had like true home field advantage in their own home playoff games. They had to go silent count against the 49ers with the Rams. I remember Stafford's wife was pissed off about that.
They'll be wearing a LaDainian Tomlinson jersey. There'll be one really old one who will have a Fouts jersey and one Herbert jersey. What instrument would you play if you were like a Texan fan guy or whatever? Oh, if I was Cody, the insert instrument guy.
Yeah.
Cody the kazoo. Like one of those little itty bitty.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't even feel like he was a good trumpet player either.
His Chargers trumpet guy famous. That's what Ultimate Fan's been missing all these years. He needs a ukulele.
Dude, Ultimate Fan's getting crazy. Like he's like, oh, I gotta work out. I gotta be in my room. Yeah. Like it's
Cody the cello. Have a big cello.
And then the worst is the most demoralizing thing for Ultimate Fan is when you look on the big screen and you see them like zoom into him and he's just kind of like this. And then all of a sudden you see him on camera and then he sees the cameras on him. He's like,
leave Ultimate Fan alone. He's gonna have to
be taken down a notch.
He's gonna go. He's gonna go beat up Tony the trumpet guy this weekend.
No. I know, Steve. He needs to be taken down a notch. He needs to be taken down a notch. For sure. Cody the harmonica guy, Landry the maracas guy. Is maracas like the...
That's the shaking.
Get up. Let's go. Come on, defense.
Oh, Tony's video. He's saying he had a beer in one hand and his trumpet in the other. He's looking for style points on that.
Brother, come on, man. That was weak.
Tony, appreciate you watching. Thank you.
We appreciate you, but damn, you suck.
Damn, no. Why are you ruining Tony's Thursday like that?
Dude, it's not hard to play the trumpet with one hand if you can play the trumpet. The two hands is the bass. It's not like he's playing a what's it called? A tuba or a sax. It's a trumpet. You're literally holding it and you're going up. That's not hard.
Two musical instrument things. One, I used to tear up the recorder in middle school.
Yeah, you would have tried in that, you nerd.
I could play hot cross buns with the best of them.
You would have tried at that. I don't blame you.
Two, a mutual friend of ours, Landry, could have had an illustrious saxophone career, but he decided to not pursue it.
Tony is the stadium wino.
Oh, geez.
All right.
Our mutual friend, the mailman, could have had a very long and successful saxophone career, but he decided not to pursue it.
He would have been the most famous saxophone player since Bill Clinton. Shout out to Bill Clinton. That's what I think of when I think of the saxophone.
Had all the presidents in the same spot today for old Jimmy Carter.
Rudy asked if you're the one that changed the way to eat cupcakes. He did. Cody kind of revolutionized the game today.
I did. I thought a lot of people knew that trick.
Nah, brother.
I thought a lot of people knew that trick. It's maybe not as useful for smaller ones. For bigger ones, it's much more useful. But basically, what you do is you take the cupcake.
I got it. Hold on. I got the review.
Okay.
So Aaron Wilson's wife makes treats. I think David Culley liked to eat them or something. And
rumor is Culley would walk down the hallway just like,
eating cupcakes,
with tricks where he'd like throw them up in the air and catch them with his mouth.
See, I don't like cake, so I don't like birthday cake or cupcakes. So it feels like I'm being rude. I don't like cake. It's weird. But Cody kind of changed the game with this. Check this out. All right. Aaron's wife made these. No pressure though. He's not filming you or anything. Okay. I had to twist Cody's arm to eat this.
Oh, yeah, you had to twist my arm, huh?
Laid out.
All right, you got a vanilla cupcake, chocolate frosting.
Yeah.
You got the fancy sprinkles. Those aren't just any sort of generic sprinkles. You got my fancy little mini malt
Watch
sprinkles.
this. Okay.
Here's a little cupcake hack for you.
Okay.
Take the bottom off, and you create a little cupcake sandwich.
That's one of the.
And then you don't get any icing on anything. And then you can just.
This is next level.
Oh, my.
You going for two? Or are you just going to kick the extra point?
That's really good. Icing, very creamy. Good flavor.
He likes creamy.
There may be a little almond extract in that a little bit. Nutella. Okay.
Nutella, okay. Are you a Nutella guy? You like Nutella ice cream?
Very good. Very good.
Okay.
Excellent.
Now, is he going for two, though? Is he just kicking the extra point, or is he going for two?
I don't need to eat two on camera, so I'm definitely going to eat another one later.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So he's going for two. Analytics.
Great job. Great job.
Okay. Aaron, the cupcake cuck over there in the corner and just watching, filming.
I ate two more, by the way. Well, sometimes when people home make icing, it's grainy. But
yeah,
that one was really good. The almond extract comment was not about the icing; it's about the cake,
the breading,
yeah, the cake.
Yeah. He's cucking in the corner over there, doing his thing. So yeah, good job, man. You taught a lot of people a lot of things about the cupcakes. Cupcake game.
Who knows when you're going to run up on me for another review?
Every day from now on. It's a new thing. All right. Appreciate y'all for coming through. We got more content coming tomorrow. We'll be live. It feels like it's Friday. It's not. So let's adjust accordingly. And always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good, and we'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.